Ani, Adele Loosemore Indijnakas, Shebahonaning and Donshapa. Hello, my name is Adele Loosemore and I'm a Treaty Indian from Shebahonaning. My community is at the entrance to the North Channel of Georgian Bay, in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area. Today my community is more widely known as Killarney, Ontario. The Métis National Council's expert panel report was released by the Métis Nation of Ontario. That report says that MNO's historic Métis communities did exist, and that Killarney is one of them. In this video, I'm going to look at some of the circumstances surrounding that report. In 2018, there were 5 organizations in the Métis National Council, also called the MNC. Manitoba Métis Federation, Métis Nation Saskatchewan, the Métis Nation of Alberta, Métis Nation British Columbia, and the Métis Nation of Ontario. If you weren't watching MNO's shenanigans in 2018, you might be interested to know that the Métis Nation of Ontario was put on probation by the Métis National Council. One of the conditions for lifting the probation required MNO to re-register its members using the national definition of Métis. In 2019, a resolution passed by MNO's Sudbury Métis Council said that members were concerned that if MNO complied with the conditions, it would eliminate 90% of the MNO citizens in Ontario. 90%. The MNC eventually established an expert panel to review the history of the 7 Ontario communities through the lens of the national definition and contemporary Métis governance. A link to the 2024 expert panel terms of reference is in the description box below this video. The Manitoba Métis Federation withdrew from the MNC in 2021. So 4 Métis organizations were part of this expert panel process. This is the expert panel's final report. The authors are listed on the front cover. They're also shown on page 196 and 197 of the report. Each governing member of the Métis National Council appointed a person to sit on the panel. There was someone from Métis Nation Saskatchewan, from Métis Nation British Columbia, from Otipemisiwak Métis Government of the Métis Nation of Alberta, and the Métis Nation of Ontario. There was a 5th member, an independent expert that, according to page 34 of the report, was confirmed as a member of the panel on November 23, 2023. That was Dr. Kurtis Boyer of the University of Saskatchewan. Here's a screenshot of the university's webpage about Dr. Boyer. There's a link to it in the description box below this video. Dr. Boyer attended the first full in-person meeting of the panel that was held on December 11th to 14th, 2023. He resigned from the panel on December 13th, 2023. So partway through that first full in-person meeting, and less than a month after joining the panel, Dr. Boyer was gone. And then this happened. Dr. Boyer, with his project team and 11 participants, analyzed the inclusion of MNO's historic Métis communities into the MNO organization and its implications for Métis legitimacy, governance, and identity. This paper, called Visions of the Nation, dated August 23, 2024, was submitted to the Métis National Council on behalf of Métis Nation Saskatchewan. Here's one of their findings from page 4 of this report. The review raised concerns about the scope, quality, and representation of research, particularly in how it has been deployed by the Métis Nation of Ontario, MNO, in public-facing documents. Using the article Rivers of Resistance, written by Dr. Dylan Miner, as a case study, our examination revealed significant misalignment between the claims made by Miner and the evidence he cited. In the description box below this video, you can find a link to the web version of this document. There's a link at the bottom of that web page to download a PDF of the report. By December 1st, 2024, 3 Métis organizations had resigned from the Métis National Council. Manitoba Métis Federation left in September 2021. Métis Nation Saskatchewan in September 2024. And Métis Nation British Columbia resigned in November 2024. As a result of the resignations, there are only 2 Métis organizations left in the Métis National Council: Otipemisiwak Métis Government and the Métis Nation of Ontario. The Métis National Council released the expert panel's report to MNO. MNO didn't show it to the public right away, but the report said that MNO's historic Métis communities did exist. So I bet they didn't waste any time getting copies to Crown Indigenous Relations in Ottawa and the Province of Ontario's Ministry of Indigenous Affairs. But once MNO made the report public in early April of 2025, these statements appeared. The Manitoba Métis Federation's response to the report said, in part, the MNO's ongoing assertions are so egregiously incorrect and ahistorical that they have destroyed the once strong national government, the Métis National Council. Minister Will Goodon said, this report is nothing more than the MNO's final drive to achieve legitimacy, and it falls flat on its face. Métis Nation Saskatchewan's Vice President Michelle Leclerc said, our MNS government is in no uncertain terms opposed to the MNC expert panel's final report. We did not endorse the process, nor do we agree with its findings. We reject MNO's portrayal of MNS in its public communications and demand our government name be removed. And Métis Nation British Columbia said that they had an opportunity to review the report in advance. We cannot verify or support its findings. We do not see ourselves or our kinship ties reflected in the report. We also do not support the approach taken or the recommendations it makes. Equally, we are dismayed that this report will cause undue harm to the relationship between First Nations and Métis across the homeland. The Otipemisiwak Métis Government, also known as Métis Nation of Alberta, said that their government neither supports nor endorses the expert panel report, and that their government has consistently asserted that citizenship is the responsibility of individual Métis governments, not external bodies. And that is why they opposed the expert panel process right from its first introduction in 2018. If you want to see these press releases in their entirety, there's a link to each of them in the description box below this video. Perhaps we can assume that all the people on the expert panel contributed in some way to the discussions that were going on about MNOs, historic Métis communities, and about Métis identity. But if half of the organizations that those panelists represented resigned from the Métis National Council, and the Otipemisiwak Métis Government says that they don't support or endorse the report, and they never agreed with the expert panel process anyway, then how did the final report actually get to be the panelists' final report? Let's look at the resolutions that were passed by the Métis National Council in relation to the expert panel report. They affirm the national definition of Métis in the first two resolutions, which require that members of each organization that joins their council are in accordance with the council's national definition of Métis. In resolution number 3, the council acknowledges receiving the expert panel report. In resolution number 4, the council doesn't reject the report. Instead, the council states that the report cannot be approved or endorsed by them. But the council did endorse the report. This is an enlargement of the logo on the cover of the expert panel report. It says Métis National Council Expert Panel. And then there's page 14 of the report explaining that the expert panel was established by the Métis National Council. The council also set out the terms of reference and decided on the panel's composition, etc., etc. MNC can claim forever that they didn't approve or endorse the report, but the document was published under their name and was the result of a process that they set into motion. This image shows the result of a search in the PDF for the initials MNC. That acronym was used more than 280 times in a 264-page document. See that paragraph at the bottom of the page? As I mentioned earlier, MNO was put on probation in 2018 because many of their members didn't meet the MNC's national definition of Métis. Well, MNC voted to quash that resolution. The council will no longer oppose MNO's claims to historic Métis communities in Ontario, opening the door for additional fake Métis to be represented at the national level by the maybe not so Métis National Council. Now take a look at resolution number 5. The Métis National Council passed a resolution allowing MNO carte blanche over two things: the distribution of a Métis National Council report on Métis identity that will be used to further advance false claims to Section 35 Aboriginal rights in First Nations territory across almost all of Ontario. The distribution or suppression or misrepresentation of the evidence surrounding the Métis National Council's expert panel process. Not just historical reports, but every record that related to the expert panel's work. It's now all in the hands of MNO. It seems like this resolution is all about MNO trying to control the narrative around that whole expert panel process, and OMG trying to wash their hands of the whole mess. If that's true, it's not going to work for either of them. OMG says in its press release of April 7th, 2025, that they opposed the expert panel process right from the start. OMG and MNO were the only organizations in the Métis National Council when the Council gifted MNO with the expert panel report. I added the red letters to show the organization that each director represents. Victoria Pruden is from Métis Nation British Columbia, but she doesn't represent MNBC on the board. She's the president of the council. As members of the Métis National Council, Otipemisiwak Métis Government and the Métis Nation of Ontario have to live with that report, a hodgepodge of deceptive and misleading propaganda. All for nothing, because after that report is thoroughly discredited, MNO will be in the same position they've always been in, with no historical evidence to support their so-called historic Métis communities in Ontario.